Hi, welcome back to this breakdown of Markiplier's video day by day of what am I saying? What? Welcome back to the Markiplier's supermarket video breakdown day by day. You know the words, they're not in the right order. Oh, so you'll notice this episode and the first episode don't look too similar. Why would that be? Because I've gone through a lot between doing the first one and the second one. So I made a little short clip of it. I don't know if I'll actually add it. I kind of tried to summarize it though. Basically because I have multiple of the same things in the same sheet, it makes it hard to just select it all and drag it down to make everything easy, because all this is just supposed to be for ease. Make everything nice and easy. And you can't really do that if you have to retype every single everything, you know? So, move some stuff around. Inventory. E through G is the type of item, the item's name, and the amount of them that come per box. Now, I did mention last time a few of the things on the wiki wrong. Amounts of item in a box, some reason wrong. I don't know how. They didn't have 9 cheeses. They had 12 in a box. That ain't right. So unfortunate. Hopefully all the info is right on this one too, because of that, I had to go through and make sure everything was extra super right. And then when I was doing that, I was like, I mean, the final number doesn't match up with his final number. I was like, oh yeah, that number plus shipping equals the right number. So let's just hope that that's the right thing, and there's not just somehow like a $4 or $8 extra thing that he bought that I just didn't see. I've also noticed that this, doing it at least for the Markiplier video, will be kind of tough because he doesn't show everything always. Sometimes he just shows the buying screen and not what he bought. So, but there's multiple points that we can catch what's happening, because you can do it when he's buying it, you can do it when he's picking up the boxes off the street, you can do it when he's putting the items onto the shelf. There's a few instances where you can kind of catch things that may have been cut out from before that you need. So, yeah, there's that. My item thing, this is more advanced. This is every single item in the game is in here. I haven't fully filled it out because, my god, doing this section is gonna take 3 or 4 hours. It's too long. Too long is what that's gonna take. So I'm just gonna break it up into information I need. This is all the shit that that's wrong. That line. So I did 2 of them and then decided to give up. But from the blue line up, that's everything he has access to right now. And then you might be wondering, why the name question mark? I'm now doing this thing where I write the code that I need for stagnant cells in there, and then I'm just gonna put an X. And then if I ever need, to come back and grab some code, I just grab it, and it's all in order too. So if the cells are in order, I grab one piece of code, I click on the blue little dot, and drag it down, and it'll autofill all the code for me. It's very nice. So, making a lot of good improvements for myself with this project. What else is there? I also separate everything by first what license it's on, second alphabetical in the individual license. Will it really help me do anything? Probably not. Is it nice? Kinda. I mean, am I ever gonna know what license I'm gonna have to look at? And I'm probably just gonna hit Control F. But I mean, having it in a specific type of order will mean that if I ever mess something up and like mix up some lines, I can always reference this, and every single thing that I copy out of here will always be the same. So that's why I got product type, product, and items in a box, which is also why on the other page, items in a box is in the category with the names, just because I can copy it over easily. Now, the things I can't copy over are the market price ranges. So that's why this code is here. And items on shelf, I don't need that information. It's usually not important. But eventually, it might become important. It's the same thing with the shelf section over here. I'm kind of jumping around. Shelf section, it's not on the day 2 because it really doesn't matter for the first couple of days. And later it will matter because he'll have so much stock that he will have to choose what goes on the stock or what goes on the shelves and what doesn't. And that's when that information becomes important. I feel like I'm breathing a lot, but I also feel like I'm talking so much. My body's not ready for this. It's fighting me with a yawn. Anyways, so you'll notice that's different. The profit lane is not filled in, and that's because I realized there's a small problem. This all started with the boxes and items. For the first day, boxes and items, this is a good system. It didn't have the leftover category, it didn't need it. The next day, I realized, fuck, he's not just ordering everything every day and selling it all that day. So you need a representation of what's left over. That's not a bad thing. But when it comes to the profits, the way I was looking at profit was unit price subtracting the unit price that was paid, and then that by the quantity. So I don't think I can do that with the leftover because he's not buying it daily, which means that you have to hunt down what he paid for it. I guess there is a way to do this, but that's gonna be its own entire graph. Oh God, I'm having ideas as I do this. So the only way we could do this is if we have a leftover chart, and the chart basically tells us every day what is left over. So this would be a leftover day 1, leftover day 2, leftover day 3, and then day 3 would only reference the items bought on day 2 that were left over. But then you still need access to know this information, which would be left from day 1. But when you sell something, how would you distinguish what came from what leftover period? It's really, without having the items be individually um how should I say this? Identified. If you can't individually identify every item and what it was bought at and sold at, you cannot do a profits tab, which really sucks. Now, you could do ideas. We can do an estimated profits tab. It wouldn't be over here. It would be one of these side graphs. Basically, what I'm thinking. Hope you can't hear my breathing. Oh, it's picked up on my recording before. I'm thinking that to do the profits tab, we take the average of the I don't want to say the actually this range will come in very handy. So when we look at the percentile range, we could average all these to give us like a generalized like percentile, how much we're making up. Can we do that? No, we can't. Well, this is probably going to be a long episode as I try to figure stuff out and do the episode. Basically, what I'm thinking is that you take all the money that you made, you look at the money that you've spent to make that money, and then I was thinking that there would be like an average thing. You know what? I think I'm overthinking. I'm thinking too much of the percentile range. No, I'm not. Okay, never mind. I was thinking of it right because you. Because to show the profit of an individual item, you have to show what you paid for it, what you know sold it for. Let's use the flour as an example. For the flour, we bought them the same price, 2 different days. I should double check that price actually. That would be very important. But I'll do that later. Episode 3, that flour price change, then you realized maybe I forgot to double check. But I'm pretty sure if I wrote it in this tab, I wrote it from the episode and not just copied it down. Anyways, but you have to look at how much you bought it for, how much you sold it for. Because these are the same value every day, it's easy. But what if they're not the same value? Did not buy sliced bread. The only thing you bought the same of day 1 and day 2 is flour. Okay. But let's say that the 79 was like an 80 cents. Even a 1 cent difference, that means that you spent 12 extra cents on one box rather than the other box. And if you go to show the profits, you can only show like a range of them, you know? Plus, you could change how much you sell them for. Oh, God, it's such complex math. If everything was bought and sold for the same price, this would be very easy. But it's not, which turns us into complex calculus work. And even then, I don't know if you could accurately display, because you'd have to do some sort of like average or range of profit, and then take the number after. You'd have to take your overall profit, subtract your overall paid, and then you'd have to turn that into like a range. I don't know if anyone knows where I'm getting at. Maybe someone else has a good answer for this. Maybe there's like a formula online that would show this. But this is basically the type of math in school where like they use letters because none of the information is entirely known. And that is awful math. Everyone hates that just because it's just not fun. There's a lot of what ifs, and what ifs is not a fun subject when it comes to math, which should be solid numbers. Let's actually get into the review, though, shall we? Day two, he did a lot of spending. Over here, you can see bought a fridge, spent $16 in shipping. I only saw him technically spend $12 in shipping, but he had one where he didn't show it, and having an extra $4 and buying stuff is what this number needed to get to the right thing. So that changes later, then I was wrong. I found I was wrong after the episode. Anyways, there was that, and he also bought a license. He spent nearly his entire loan amount on just equipment in one episode. It is rough for that. That's why if you look back at it, he was like negative $500 because the money he made that day just covered like the little extra bit. Yeah, it's rough. It's real rough for him. I mean, it's not totally rough. He just bought a lot at once. Personally, I would have solidified myself uh in the zero license category before upgrading, but he's just jumping right into it. And I mean, honestly, it didn't do bad for him either. So he bought one of each stock. The way that he did it almost made it seem like he bought two of three categories and then one of just a copy of everything. But when I double checked the footage, he did just buy one of everything, and that also lines up with the amount that he spent in the one day. Oh, breathe. I feel like I'm talking about my breathing too much. Oh. Anyways, all the items you can now buy. He did have two items that he sold without changing the price, which I did change the name of this tab from Whoopsies to Mark's Dumb. And you can see $7 first day, $12.75 the next day. He's kind of losing a little bit of cash from not swapping his thing. If you do a percentile for the first day's profit, it's like how much is that? Because if it was $100, it would be 12%, but it's under that by like a third. So a third of that is $4. So about 8% or so. 8% of his first day sales and just money's loss on the second day. So not too great in that department. Has a whole bunch of stock, has a whole bunch of leftover stock too. I think leftover stock is going to be a very interesting number to see what kind of gets left behind from the previous day. So, you have your unit pricing. Something, if I do show that video, you'll see it more back there. But I added conditional formatting to this table I could have done this a little cleaner, but this was the fast way that I just knew how to do it. Basically, if a number is over 100% or below 0%, it will not show up in this tab. So this is supposed to be negative 4.35%. That's not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be a number between 0 and 100, which means that if I look at the oil pricing, it'll be wrong in some capacity, which just means I have to come back and change it later. So, yeah. So that's why you can see them in some, not in others. So oil's wrong, pasta's wrong. These are right enough. The 100% and 0% may also, like, take it with a pinch of salt, could be wrong if it's just one number on one side of the table rather than on the other side of the table. Let's see if I can find an example on that. So, like, if these two numbers are the same, like right there, like the flour. So this flour, the market price range is the same. So there's no range per se, versus here, which is an actual range because it's between two different numbers. So that's why that flour info is weird. I mean, it's still at 100% here. Okay, so it's fine there. That's fine. Okay, that's good. Does it not? You shouldn't do math on camera. You'll often say something that you don't agree with. None of these have any math, then why am I looking at it like that? Yeah, but anyway, this is a problem though. Oh, that's why. This would be a problem if we were trying to find like profit percentages, right? Yes, okay. I'm looking at the wrong end of the math. This is the butt end of the math. I wasn't doing butt end of the math. I was doing face ends. Face ends in this category, alright. This one I changed manually just so it didn't come back with a wrong number. So it's really more different than that. So if you see any with like a couple cents, like less than 5 cents or something, it's most likely I've come back in and changed that information. It should really be like a 20-some cent difference. Oh, like this one. The Elio spaghetti will not show up with anything because it is the same number. And that's not how math work. Do I have Elio spaghetti in here? Or is that just a... I don't think I do. Nope. Anyways, there was that. Let's see. Items, unit price, price percentile. There's a few of them. Here's a low number, but low numbers are good in this case. In this case, he bought the eggs for like 12% off of being the lowest price that they could be. Very nice. The cheese, 40% off. You know, that's halfway. That's a decent price. The 100%'s bad, as expensive as you could get it, like the bottle of water, the coffee, which, oh my god, I want to point this out. He questions if he should buy coffee again. He had one person buy 3, and they were at not a good price. In fact, that not a good price lost him $10, which is pretty much most of the profit loss that day. No one else bought any, and then right at the end of the video, I have a fucking heart attack because he's like, "Oh, should I buy more coffee? That's probably good. It's expensive." No, please no, please stop. You're not selling that much. You sold a shit ton of pasta that day. like a shit ton of it. Oh, I should do numbers on stuff that goes out every day. That's what I should do. I was wondering what charts I should do more because I only got one over here for right now. Very handsome average spent between customers. But I should absolutely do a pie chart of like sales. There is only one issue though. It's what so one issue I've come up with these. So if I move this, you'll notice there's numbers behind it. That's because if the numbers aren't right next to each other, the this program doesn't see it as a chart. You can't select a range and say these are your variables and select another range somewhere else and say these are um your labels. That's what they are. So a little unfortunate. Makes my life slightly harder. But at the same time, even though it makes it slightly harder, if you just look behind a graph, you can see what the actual information numbers are, which is kind of nice, honestly. So I love the theming here. I know it's not Markiplier red and like white, um, but it's close enough, and it doesn't hurt my eyes to look at it all day. Bright white backgrounds in sheet things are awful. Honestly, the default should be black with white lines, not white with black lines, because the exposure that my eyes get just dry them out so much. Anyways, sold sold lots of pasta. Didn't buy any pasta, so all that pasta he sold was left over from the first day. Sold decent amounts of everything else. About a 4 up to an 8. 8 being the sugar. Um, let's see. Unit prices. Most of them did not change. There were a few things that he changed. I think, right? I think he changed the pasta. He did. He took the pasta from $4 to $3. Now we don't know how many people may have complained, but that did, that was a possible $11 profit that he didn't make from changing it. Not saying that that's a for sure price, like that's anything he technically lost. These are just imaginary numbers because maybe one person complains and it takes $11 down to $8, and then the second person complains and doesn't buy it, and then that $8 goes down another amount. So yeah, a lot of the numbers a little theoretical, a little not everything stagnant. So overall though, the money that he made went up. I got that over here. No, I don't. I thought I did. Hmm. Let me just come in here. I don't know why these aren't white. I don't know if I leave this in or if it'll be a speed run. Can I do that? No, it's gonna change it if I do. That's not what I wanted you to be. Sometimes that automatic thing is good, and sometimes it's not. What is that number? Oh, that's not the right number. I did the wrong one anyways. I'm dumb. I'm big dumb. Let's see. I'll just delete it and select that. There we go. Let's see if it does this. I don't know what it thinks it's describing there, but that's quite literally nothing. Oh, where are you? Why are you like that? What do I do over here? I did that. I want you to be you. Why are you not you? Look, I said I like spreadsheets. They don't always make sense. I wish you would just let me type into here. Let me see. It's I like I want to like what this is, but me not being able to just type in the data ranges means that I have to jump hoops and do whatever this garbage is. I will come back to this. That garbage, don't want it. It's this nice. If this was just a range, type in the top, and then it was like type in a range of what the left side says, what the bottom side says. Type those two, and then it's like, oh, what's the first point? Oh, it's X, Y. It's like, oh, that's great. That's great. Like these are not hard to do, but I don't know why Google just wants to make it too complicated. They want it to follow their exact type of rules. Sometimes your information doesn't follow those rules, and then they're just like, oh, go fuck yourself. So, anyways, what was I on to? Money received, good amount. Money spent a shit ton, lost a little. Um, technically took in more money than the previous day. I think that's what I was on. What was that like $15 more? Good amount, good amount. He did that and also had less people. No, he had more people. He had one extra person. For some reason I thought it was the other way around. But the average spent per customer too also went up, which is really good because that just means in general more money was spent in between each person. If the average spent goes up and the total customers goes up. So the level of complainers went down a little bit. So this is a nice little number I think I'll have for a little bit too. The percentage of your stock that was sold versus left over. These are inverses of each other, so you could almost assume one because of the other. But you know what? We'll just have them as numbers up there, so there's no confusion. But only sold about a third of his stock. Stock volume increase, I think, is a very interesting number that looks at the amount that he made, or that now they made, the amount that he ordered in that day versus the entire stock that he had during that day's time span. So it looks at the leftover stock, adds the new stock that he just ordered, and then divides not divides that by, but divides the stock that he ordered by that number. So, but basically, what this means is that he was like one box away. I think we can actually see it over here too, right? Yes, these are the boxes that's looking at. He was 2 boxes away from pretty much doubling his stock for the day, and he only sold about 2/3. I'd say that's roughly 2/3 of what he actually ordered that day. So, which that brings up an interesting question, store wise, is how much should you be ordering to have on back stock? Because the ideal numbers would be like, well, it would be 2 scenarios. Either one, you pretty much order everything you need for a certain amount of time and sell pretty much all of that out by the time you order again, or two, you kind of do like a pat rack rats pack packing rats. Uh, Basically the rodent thing where you store up stuff is what I'm trying to say. Where you shove a bunch of boxes into your little chipmunk cheeks. Jesus, what are my words doing today? But you basically, buy low, sell high is what I'm trying to get at, because I mean price fluctuates, and I mean if you see a 0%er, might as well buy some extra stock of that, and then just save up that stock until you see it go on sale again. So there's that. There's what is there else? Percent of stock sold, percent of total stock. These numbers, like I said yesterday, are changing a lot more rapidly because of just the fluctuation throughout days. Percent of their stock sold. Is this right? Yes, that's right. Okay, I was thinking of the ordered section. I was thinking he didn't. Yeah, okay, because you're 0% and you're 0%, and that's what those two numbers are. Okay. Yep. Okay. That's where that lines up. But this is the percentage of the stock of that singular item is that he sold. That was supposed to be a shift click, not a control click. The Suzu Sugar sold 70% of his stock. Very nice. Compared to the previous day where he only sold like 30 some of it. You'll notice that these numbers don't match up, because this would actually equal over 100%. And the reason for that is that it readjusts. So this 70% is of the leftover number from this. Does that make sense? Like the total for the first day was everything bought, but the total that the percentage is counting out of for the second day is everything that was left over from the first day, which does not include the stock sold. So this is percentile good, but it's also percentile out of a smaller number than this, you know. So that's why they're never gonna line. So also second day, still didn't pay anything on loans. I don't know when he was supposed to, if that's like a regular thing. I don't have the game, so we'll see when that those issues start arising. So I think I already said this. Average spent per customers, complainers, yeah, all that. I think I pretty much went over all the information. Oh, there's also going to be another category up here, uh, which I guess I could give a header to, shouldn't I? Let's see. For all scores. Let's just call it that. Those are his overall scores on some of his categories. So like Mark's dumb total, almost $20 he's lost for forgetting to change prices. Total amount of customers, 45 between 2 days. Total, that number's wrong. That number will never be up there. That will just probably be erased, because if I can't do profits, I can't total it. But total income, though, was that. Technically, I could do total income versus profit by just doing everything I spent, or subtracting everything I spent from everything I received, but that doesn't take into account that not everything is sold. Oh, math. So if I did a total current profit that way, it would never truly be right because you always have leftover stock. Um, because that's why at the end of the game when it tells you that your profit's negative $1,000, it's because it's only looking at the money that you spent and earned in that day, and it's not looking at like how much extra stock you have left over. You know, maybe that's something I can do. If you do, ooh, okay. And that's another one. I'm just gonna write a note for myself. Do front do expenses. Wait, no. Shoot. Stop that. Do income minus expenses and then do that all over percent stock sold slash left over. Okay. So if you don't read math, this is a verbally written out math problem, which is just going to help me when I come back and do this. It's basically saying that if I take the income minus expenses, I will get one number. I think if I put that number over the stock like sold and stock left, that I will have two numbers, and with those two numbers, I can use those to project the estimated profits. You know, because this line of code would be all projection based. You take the information that you know, which is three things: the income, the expenses, and the amount of stock that you sold versus the leftover stock. Which means that if you take like the general average of like what the stock sold was worth across all the boxes, that you can project how much the leftover stock is worth. I mean, you still have to sell the leftover stock, but unless you have like, a market crashing, or like you have to do a mass sale or something, this would be a generally interesting number that would tell you how much like value is still left inside the store after you sold as much as you could in a day. And then what we do after that is we make another chart over here that references all of these charts, and that shows the estimated projections, and if they panned out, if they didn't pan out, you know that's interesting. Now, for all of this, honestly, I don't think I can keep doing the Google Sheets or the Google thing unless there's a manual version. Is there a manual way to set this up? Because this is all automatic. There's no. Those are looks. Those are looks. This is series looks. The look of the legends. The look. Okay, so this is all aesthetics. So there's not a way. So between this episode and the next episode, what I'm probably gonna do is look up a either like a tool or some sort of extension for Google to just make my own graphs, because these, like, this is nice, but to get this to work, I have to go through unreasonable like jumps and like loops. Like, if I could just copy and paste the information I know I need for this to display, it would just be so much easier. It'd be nice if it could reference the sheet, but even if it can't reference the sheet, I mean, I can just come over to the sheet, copy and paste the elements I need. So I wish that was better. I'm very disappointed in it. So otherwise, that's pretty much. I think that's pretty much it. This chaotic version might be more of what these updates are. Because I mean, I like the look of the first episode. But let me tell you, it is a pain to go back and do. Cause it's like this. There's a lot of um. There was probably 40 minutes of recording for the first episode that I had to manually go in and cut down to like 15 to 20, because that's all they was really needing to use, you know. Which, I mean, me right there saying, one of the things I cut out. I say that all the time. It's a bad habit. I'm really starting to hear it now that I listen to myself speak. I'm trying to like stop, but it's a process. Between that, any like heavy breathing I do, stuff like that, I try to cut that out, which I'm sure is nice for the audience, but it takes up so much time. I also get to more casually talk about information. So I think I'll leave that there. Hi, this is a damp sponge. I kind of want to show a little behind the scenes of all this mess. You can see this comb being real weird. All this is a mess, by the way. Mainly for one purpose. Um, when I double enter things in, like when he changes what the price is throughout the day, that prevents me from just like copying the whole section and just dragging it down. So I want to make it so I don't have to do all this manually every time. But to do that, I have to do a lot of prep work. Mainly, the prep work is taking like a section, making it so all the formulas are perfect, and then either copying and pasting in a certain way that it remembers what like cells I want to remember and which ones I want it to change. That might not make much sense, but let's look at like here. So you might not be able to read this. Basically, this first orange code wants it to look at the cell to the left. That's the orange one. The purple one and purple one are the same cell, and the blue one is a different cell. Basically, I want it to look at the cell next to it always, but then whenever I make like a repeating pattern um of tables, I'm gonna have to tell the code that this should always be the cell to the left of it, and these ones are always going to be finite ones and should never move. Which I think I have to write multiple tables for it to like detect that, because there is some auto detection like I don't know if I want to say AI exactly, but there's like code in a way that's supposed to detect patterns in your stuff and then suggest like, hey, we can auto write that in for you. One example is if like I drag this down. Oh, it's not gonna do it, is it? Oh, well, that would have been a great way for it to show it. It was doing it earlier, where if you drag, like if you're inside of like a section and you copy the information and drag it down. If you don't do it all the way, it would end up prompting you being like, hey, we notice that you want this to come down, but what if instead we filled out the rest of the table for you? And you'd be like, that's great. That saves me time. That's really good code. I want all that. But for that to recognize this, like, I'd almost call this semi complex code, where it, like, one cell, kind of like I mentioned before, one cell is always supposed to change, but the other one is not supposed to change. It's just going to be a little bit difficult. Now, what else makes this super difficult this is what I'm using as my reference sheet. These are the expected highs and lows in the market range for the items. I got all this off the wiki. This would be perfect if any of it was correct. I mean, you saw my previous one. Uh, oh, it was like one of these or something. I overrid it though, trying to figure stuff out. But basically, this was 99 cents. I don't remember if it's the pasta or the sliced bread. Something was 99 cents. But then you come over here. You know what? Now that I look at it, I kind of think it was the sliced bread. And the minimum was $1.15 is what the website told me. But since we bought it for 99 cents, it came up in the code that it was 50% more cheaper than the expected range. So, and you don't want those numbers, which will require me throughout doing this little project having to write in information, project with the information I have, and if later on I find that for some reason the game is selling a product cheaper or more expensive than is projected, then I have to go back to this table and change it here for any of my information to make sense, which will change all the previous information, which is good because that information is now more correct, but bad because that means that we were reporting with more like projections and less, stone hard, metal solid information. And that's what I need. I need my information to be as solid as a rock, and these rocks are crumbling. So that does not make me too happy. Also, this will come up later, but Jesus Christ, Mark spending nearly his entire loan on just equipment and licensing that he will not fill, probably. Ugh. So that's what's making this take so long. If all this was set up in a way that I liked it, I would basically just have to like highlight everything, drag it all down to copy it multiple times, and then just while I'm watching the episode, come in and fill out the numbers. And then when I fill out the numbers, all the math should do the math things all on their own. But now because like, I had that the double layered stuff and stuff, it is messing it up. Kind of wondering, do I make a side category for like stuff? Maybe I just put into whoopsie. Here's the thing: if I put into whoopsie, because this is pre-made, right? I mean, it references other cells. If I do whoopsie like that, I mean, I guess I'll always know the item's still being sold, so that doesn't affect anything. I mean, this still references the other cells. Ugh. I gotta use big mega mind, thinking brain, blue headed, Because, like, let's say we add another tab next to whoopsie. That tab would be um, probably under the same whoopsie thing. It would just be like items like repriced. And then we would just have to choose like one main item, and then there'd still be items over there. But then that would also have to have its own. Oh god, the repricing thing throughout the day is really throwing a wrench in my plans because I quite literally have to have that information. That is not a that is not an optional thing. My other idea is to underneath the like regular spreadsheet do like a miscellaneous section of just like redone things, because if I keep all this information in the same categorical order, then when I go to make the next one, it'll all the like code and stuff will like transfer over relatively smoothly. But if I have a break in between my table of information and the thing that's summarizing it, that means I have to come into the summarizing thing and tell it to do it, because unless there's a code in hmm, unless there's a code in here that said look at the cells above, every cell above that's not considered a header, like if I could label this as a header and this as a header, and I go into this box and I say, hey, summarize everything up until the next header box. But that's more coding than a spreadsheet has. Hmm. Because here, so if I was also into wasting space too, I would also just go through and put every single item on the chart right away, and then make the congruent like form over here, and then that'd be really easy to copy over and over. But let's do a little thing. So that always says between K6 and K13. If I go in between here, insert one row above. Oh, that does add. Okay, okay. So as long as the code is already there and you add something in between, it'll consistently stick with it, right? So you're still G7. You've got nothing. You've got nothing. You should be G6. You don't have any code in you. You've got nothing. So you should be G5. You are G5. Okay. Okay. My hope is turning around. Basically what I have to do is come back in, rewrite all this information in an easily copyable form. And then when I come in and add extra tabs in between, the information should automatically adjust. Which sucks because that means I have to go from like only prepping things when I can see them to prepping everything right away, which means I'm going to have a large volume of information like this information that will probably not be right. And I will probably have to come in and find and edit myself. Oh man, it is so. I hope that you guys can appreciate how much I have to do for this. Automation is not automatic until the process is complete. Once the process is complete, it's good after the process, but the mind and intellect that takes to go into a problem, figure out its needs, and then automate it, and then come through and try to dummy proof it. So if I ever do something dumb, it doesn't matter to the code. That also means I need these. The drag down thing is going to be good until I get problems like this. Because this is this number because with a 0, there's nothing in there, but when there's nothing in there, it counts the cell as a 0 so it can still do math. That is the product of doing all the math with no number. So like if I put 1 in there, that's 150. Which is kind of cool that you can just come in and just like generally figure out, oh god, generally figure out what the numbers are that's working with. Man, that is. Maybe I should stop doing that. Yeah. This will be nice though because I can retell it. I mean, not the leftover section, but the boxes, the items. You know, it'll know those units ahead of time. So when I come in and put in the amount of boxes, automatically transfer that over to units. Oh boy. I could make an if-then statement too. Here's an idea. If-then statement. If this number is not between 0 and 100, that it changes the text color to the red of the background, so I don't see it. So I don't have to see any ugly, ugly math. Because there's like math up here. Yeah, I'm paying 150 for that. It's a 227% markup. That's not. That's not. No. That is percentile too. So let's go check out what that is. It's powdered sugar. Let's see. Powdered sugar. Yeah, okay. See, this is another one of those problems. 110, but he bought it for 115, which means that is the new highest. Ugh. And the problem later too is that if they ever come in and change the information, like if they come in, they're like, "Hey, we need to nerf all the freezer things. They're doing too much work." That means that if I ever change that, my old information is always going to be wrong. because there's going to be a new minimum maximum that those did not follow the rules by. You know, I do like that previous idea I had. Oh god, is it formatting? Conditional formatting. If this greater than 100 percentile. Okay, and you see that's highlighting it. I don't want the background to be anything. I want the text to turn the dark red. Done. Add another rule. If it is less than 0%, change this to text color, change the text color to red. Done. There. Now, anyone who's ugly, I don't have to look at them. It does not hide this, though. This is a problem. The reason this is here is because you're dividing numbers that equal to 0. Or I shouldn't say divide. I've subtracted two numbers. Some of the formulas say that the first and second number are the same, which equals 0, and then makes me divide by 0. I don't want to do that. I cannot divide by 0. What thing was that? Pasta? Yeah, it's the same. Which that cannot happen.